How's it going, everyone? This is Dixon of the Ultimate Game Realm logging on, and welcome to the Ultimate Game Realm. Going into another memory lane with one of the first games I played on the PlayStation back in early '96. And that game is simply titled as D. Yes, D. Now, D has all sorts of meanings. However, I first discovered this game in a gaming magazine as an advertisement that was coming to the PlayStation, the Sega Saturn, and the PC. And since I was trying to move up from the 16-bit era, the graphics were quite amazing to look at for the time. And the game looked pretty interesting all around, with it being a horror interactive movie adventure with CGI. 90s CGI, that is. First of all, I didn't know at the time that D was first released exclusively on the 3DO a year prior. Then got ported to other CD-ROM consoles as well as the PC the following year. The PlayStation version ran on 3 CD-ROM discs, and the Saturn version, and as well as I think the 3DO version, ran on 2 CD-ROM discs. Regardless of what version of D you played, or I played, I had a blast of the first time playing through the game, as well as an introduction to the beginning of what to expect on the next generation of gaming for the next few years. The game, D, was developed by Warp and created by the late Kenji Eno. Now, D was remembered more on the 3DO console compared to the other consoles, because full motion video game genre was slowly fading away during the beginning of the PlayStation and Saturn era. Mainly the PlayStation was more focused on 3D and third-person, first-person fighting games or side-scrollers. And 3D gaming was on the rise that year in 1996, when they brought Resident Evil and Tomb Raider, plus other games. So full-motion video games like D, that was released on the PlayStation, was considered to be more of a forgotten gem by some, as well as being overshadowed by the other games that were released on the console from that point on till the end of the era. I personally felt like it was a bummer that full motion video games had been put on the back burner and went into obscurity. But I understand the full motion video concept for gaming wasn't for everyone. But at least the genre is not gone, though. The D game did get a digital release for the MS-DOS version on GOG and Steam in 2016, thanks to the help of Night Dive Studios. Even though that was a digital re-release, it's not remastered or anything, and Night Dive Studios don't own the rights to the game itself, they just publish it. But hopefully the D game can get a remaster, a proper remaster that is, because it could definitely use one. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's awesome to see the game make a comeback, but it would be better if the game gets a proper remaster in 4K or HD, because sadly the graphics are dated when playing the game on modern OSs. But as it stands out, it's still great that the game is getting the recognition as it deserves. Now, what's D all about? Well, it's a first person full motion video 90s CGI puzzle adventure type game where you control a female protagonist by the name of Laura Harris, the daughter of the antagonist, who happens to be a mass murderer and the director of the hospital, Dr. Richter Harris. Well, it goes like this. In 1997, in Los Angeles, 2 years after the game was released, at an LA National Hospital, Dr. Richter Harris went on a murder spree inside the hospital where he barricaded himself and possibly a few hostages from the police from entering the hospital. Wow. Yeah, the soundtrack for this game is amazing. And the graphics was sure one peak of its time. Though the graphics are dated today, and like I said, we do need a proper remaster. Then the Los Angeles police contacted his daughter, Laura Harris, who was a university student in San Francisco. After Laura received the disturbing message about her father's actions, Laura then rushes to the LA hospital to find an explanation of why her father did what he did. As you can see here, they're showing you some previews of what you're going to come across in the game, or what to expect before you actually start the game. Laura then walks into the hospital. Then Laura enters the hospital. Laura was horrified after she witnessed a few murdered bodies all around the entryway with no living soul in her sight. Then the next thing Laura sees, coming out of nowhere, is a portal gate. Then she puts her hand into the portal gate, then she transfers from the hospital to some dark medieval castle, and the gameplay begins from there. D has a 2-hour real-time limit to uncover the truth behind these horrible events, which I never made it past the deadline, because I always completed the walkthrough every time I played it. If you went past the deadline, then Laura gets transported back to the real world, and you have to start over again, which I never did when I was playing it. D is a pretty easy and short adventure game, but still always wonderful to go back into whenever I have a chance. And when I get a chance, I take advantage of it, because it's a masterpiece. D relies on an adventure of exploring, solving puzzles, jump scares. The game is in focus of atmosphere and a disturbing story involving some kind of a vampire bloodline that's connected to Dracula. Kenji Eno, the creator of D, was influenced by Bram Stoker's Dracula novel and home computers from the 80s, which were the Polyware's Transylvania series. That influenced Eno to invent a story of his own involving references of vampirism, cannibalism, and Dracula references. Though you don't see any of those types that were familiar with all the subjects that I mentioned in the game. But however, if done right, Laura will come across glowing cockroaches that triggers off a painful flashback involving Laura and her mother. That involves cutting the steak on the plate, which is possibly human flesh. And time to time, a vision of Laura's father speaks out to Laura to warn Laura to go back. Obviously, he didn't want Laura to be involved in what he's doing. But Laura thinks it's best to put a stop to whatever her father is doing, and she won't stop at nothing to do it.
Laura. 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 This is your father. Laura, go back. You must not cross over to this side. This is another world born of my own mind. Laura, go back. Come further and your world will be closed off from you. Laura, I'm...
The game has two endings, the good ending and the bad ending. which the good ending does have sadness to it. But I'm not going to spoil either one of them, so you're going to have to play the game yourself for $6 on GOG or Steam. Or if you have a game on the retro console, you can play yourself. Now, the D game itself may be dated for today's standards as far as graphics are concerned, and I do believe D does deserve a faithful remaster, along with other games from Kenji Eno, Enemy Zero, and D2. But as it stands out as of now, D is still playable on modern OSs, and it's totally worth going back into, especially if that's the only option. Unless if you're a collector for retro game consoles, which I do have a PlayStation 1 version of the game, I can play it on there too, so. D is a one-time playthrough game, meaning the game has no saves. But like I said before, the game is pretty easy. Unfortunately, Laura doesn't die in D, meaning the player can't die in D. But however, there will be annoying moments in the game, like dealing with a mini-game involving a knight in a suit of armor with a sword. You hit one wrong button, or with bad timing, you get knocked into the pit. But Laura climbs up the ladder out of the pit for a rematch. And your main goal is to finish the mini-game by dodging the knight to get a sword. By dodging the knight and pushing him into the pit so he can get a sword. Every time you fail a minigame, you have to do it again until you get the pattern right. And it can be a freaking pain because you have to watch the cutscenes of Laura climbing the ladder and you can't skip it. Oh, yeah, that's another issue about the game at times. Not too much of an issue, is that you can't skip cutscenes in the game. Except for maybe the beginning before entering the castle, I think. Oh, also another issue is some of the items that you have that you already use, like the key. After you use that item, they don't disappear from your inventory. Or items like that you don't have any use for. I mean, some items that you actually put inside of a wall or something, just to advance, they disappear, but keys, they don't. Those were a few drawbacks of the game itself. D is one of those games that I was spooked out from after these jump scares and the atmosphere all around, and with the atmosphere all around with this horror adventure. And I do pray that the game gets a proper HD or 4K remaster. And D is currently available on GOG or Steam for the asking price of $5.99, and it's well worth it. That's pretty much all I gotta say. Thank you all very much for watching. This is Dixon of the Ultimate Gamer Room logging off.